So these are the beaver ponds in Lundy Canyon, the first beaver pond. Yes, I am trying to fish here, but I doubt I'll catch anything. For one thing, fishing has been lousy. Despite reports to the contrary, fishing has been lousy. Part of the reason, people, you need to understand that beavers can be just as damaging, if not worse, to the environment than human beings. You used to see huge schools of brook trout down in here, and now you're lucky if you see one. And beavers can actually kill off an entire area. So, despite what some people that think they're being environmentalists, but really aren't, say, sometimes culling is a good thing. And I guarantee you, if you took out like 50% of the beavers, and I would say 60 to 70% of the dams, if not 90%, you would see a huge improvement. But that really isn't the entire reason. I'm not just down here to give you a lecture on the environment and why sometimes humans actually have to help nature and not leave it alone. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people who are very ignorant about the actual environment tend to run things. No, I came down here to show you some artwork. And it's right over here on the other side of this rock. It was painted years upon years ago by a local artist, though people have touched it up through the years. Some people wrongly call it vandalism, but I guarantee you that if it was Banksy who painted it, they would be saying, "Oh, that's amazing!" I'm just letting you soak it in. Last year, unfortunately, when I came down here, somebody had thrown whitewash all over it. And I and many of the locals were utterly irate when we came back here and checked on it. Somebody had washed off most of the whitewash. Unfortunately, some idiots think that this is vandalism. It's not. It's art. Okay, this is not graffiti. This is not somebody painting FU or gang symbols. This is just as much art as anything Banksy paints. And you can see down here names and dates of people who have come in and touched it up through the years. It does need another touch-up. So hey, Banksy, if you're watching this, I've got a project for you. As an artist, you should appreciate this. Now, the person who painted this also at one time painted a rock that looked like a rabbit, but some teenagers decided to break it up. They totally destroyed it. And then there was a penguin. And then there's a frog off of a little dirt road. And not in the canyon proper. It's an old dirt road where there used to be a schoolhouse and everything. So that's part of what I came down here to show you. It's just, I could go on and on. My parents honeymooned up in Lundy. We've come back every year since. 47 years for them, 43 years for me. You consider my mom was pregnant with me while she was up here. You can literally say that I've been visiting here since before I was born, same with Virginia City. So there will be more if there should still be enough sunlight, because I don't think we're going to stay here, because I doubt we're going to catch anything. Hello, birdie. You guys see the birdie? Oh, birdie went bye-bye. We were up in Mammoth earlier, and it was snowing. And you see way back there, let me see if I can zoom in. That's a beaver hut. That's a beaver hut. Like I said, sometimes you have to help nature. You know, if you go to the San Diego Zoo and talk to their conservation people, they'll actually tell you that hunting is part of conservation. Because you do have to have like a controlled culling sometimes in order to keep species healthy. And keep areas healthy. Because you can't have too many predators and you can't have too many prey animals. Too many prey animals will destroy all the vegetation. Too many predators will kill off all the prey animals. You know, and then you have the whole invasive species issue, which is a whole other kettle of fish. So, something I need to tell you folks about before you get to the next part of the Lundy Canyon video. So I was filming this one single grave that happens to be there, and I filmed my approach, and I discussed the grave. I talk about how, as we understand it, it's the grave of a little girl who died of pneumonia. And one year, my parents and I went up there and we fixed up the entire grave. We found pieces of the fence that were missing and cemented them back in. We painted there's just a board there, and we painted the board so it would last longer, and we had painted our initials on the back of the board where nobody could see it, and how somebody came along and undid all the work and then took credit for cleaning up the grave when it was my parents and I who did it. And my camera turned off in the middle of filming, and I had to restart my camera and start filming again. And I just got back to our cabin and I found out that whole section of the video is missing. So there's going to be a whole section that, you know, just the end of this video is what little bit I managed to record. And what I was saying about the whole thing is, you know, don't be a Gilderoy Lockhart. Don't claim credit for somebody else's work. It was my parents and I who cleaned up that grave. And somebody came along and undid all our work, and then they claimed credit for something we did. All right? And like I said, I'm hoping the third part has what I was saying, you know, before. I'd mentioned in my other video where I filmed this one cemetery, you know, about how we have a lot to learn from the dead. And in the case of this little girl who died of pneumonia, we learned that we should not take scientific-based medicine for granted, and that we should be grateful for things like vaccines and antibiotics, and not doing things like fermented salty cabbage juice and colloidal silver and essential oils and bleach enemas, okay? Because vaccines and antibiotics are way safer. There'll be a lot more children's graves if we don't vaccinate. So, weird thing, my camera just stopped filming. But I don't know if you got that last little bit. I'll see when I get on the computer and load this up, because there isn't time to review my footage there. I was saying, please, you know, don't take credit for other people's work. Please don't be a Gilderoy Lockhart. My goal of these videos is not necessarily to, like, get a whole lot of tourists up here, even though I know tourism is a big industry and it brings a lot of money for this area. I am hoping that this will bring people who do better quality videos than I, such as Adam the Woo and Ready for Fun. It might even bring some of those paranormal investigation channels, you know? Because besides this, there's the other graveyard I showed you, there's the ghost town Bodie and all that. You know? So, and like I said in the other video, the dead still have a lot to teach us. In this case, because it's a little girl who died of pneumonia, what she has to teach us is we should be grateful for vaccines and antibiotics and other science-based medicine. Because without them, there would be a lot more little girls and little boys in graves nowadays. And we definitely should not turn our backs on science-based medicine just because of one falsified report by a proven fraud and a bunch of idiot celebrities. So rest in peace, little girl.